Jack had always been a fan of new experiences, so when he found a place with an alien roommate, he was excited. Zara was from a faraway planet, a species known for their soft blue skin, large eyes, and small pointy ears. She wasn't like anyone Jack had ever met, and that's what made her so fascinating. Her appearance was unique, yes, but it was her personality that intrigued him the most. Zara was quiet, kind, and a little mysterious, making her a great roommate for someone like him who enjoyed peace and quiet. The first few weeks of living together were easy. They shared meals, had casual conversations, and adjusted to each other's habits. Zara seemed to have her own routine, and Jack respected that. She was a night person, often staying up late to read or work on something on her tablet. Jack, on the other hand, preferred to go to bed early. But it worked. They didn't have to be in each other's space too much. But then, one evening, Zara asked him for something that Jack hadn't expected. It was just after dinner. Jack was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, when Zara sat down. Beside him, she hesitated, looking nervous for the first time in the weeks they'd lived together. "Jack," she began, her voice softer than usual. "Oh, there's something I need to ask you." Jack looked up, surprised by the seriousness in her tone. "Sure, what's up?" I can't sleep without." "Cuddling," she said, her words slow as if she was unsure of how to say it. "Something my species needs. We don't sleep well without physical contact." Jack blinked, processing what she was saying. "Wait, ... what? You want me to? To cuddle with you?" Zara looked at him, her expression serious. "Yes, it's not about anything strange. It's just how I sleep. You're the only one here, so ... Her voice trailed off, and she seemed to become more anxious. Jack leaned back on the couch, trying to wrap his head around the situation. He had never heard of anything like this before. The idea of sharing a bed or even just physical space, such an intimate way with a roommate, was awkward. He had never thought of Zara that way, and the thought of having to cuddle with her was, well, strange, but I'm not really ... Jack began, unsure of how to finish his sentence. He wasn't the type of person to share his personal space so casually. "I mean, I barely know you, and, well, this is ... weird." Zara's eyes lowered, and Jack immediately felt guilty for making her feel uncomfortable. She wasn't asking for anything more than to sleep peacefully. Her culture, as strange as it seemed to him, had needs that were different from his own. "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable," she said quietly. "It's just how we sleep. My people don't sleep well alone, and it's necessary." Jack looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. She wasn't asking for something that was meant to cause trouble. It was just a need she had, one that was cultural, and she was explaining it to him in the most honest way possible. After a few moments of silence, Jack sighed. "Okay, but just for tonight, I'm not sure if I can get used to this." Zara smiled, softly, relieved. "Thank you, Jack. I promise I'll try to keep it short." That night, Jack lay awake in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't believe he had agreed to this. Cuddling with his alien roommate was the kind of situation he had never imagined. The whole idea felt like something out of a science fiction story. But here he was, about to share his bed with someone from another planet. When Zara came into the room, she sat down beside him carefully, almost cautiously. She seemed a little nervous, too. Jack realized that she might not be as comfortable with the situation as he had assumed. "So, do I just ... hold you?" Jack asked, feeling awkward. Zara nodded. "It's not about holding exactly. It's more like just being close. My species, we need to be near someone to relax enough to sleep." Jack hesitated, unsure of what to do next. But then, seeing how uneasy Zara seemed, he slowly scooted over in the bed. "All right," he muttered, not sure if he was doing the right thing. He felt his heart race slightly as Zara shifted closer, her body warm next to his. At first it was uncomfortable. Jack could feel the unfamiliar warmth of her skin, the soft texture of her alien clothes brushing against his. The silence between them was thick, and neither of them knew exactly what to say. But slowly, as they both lay there in the stillness, Jack noticed something strange. The awkwardness began to fade. Zara's presence, while initially odd, seemed to have a calming effect on him. The warmth of her body against his, the steady rhythm of her breathing, it was soothing. In a way he hadn't expected. He turned his head slightly, watching as Zara closed her eyes, her expression softening. Her usual tension seemed to melt away, and she looked peaceful for the first time in days. Maybe this wasn't as weird as he thought. "Thank you," she whispered after a few minutes. "I feel better." Jack nodded, not knowing how to respond. He was still trying to make sense of everything, but somehow he felt the same. There was something strangely comforting about sharing this space with Zara, even if he didn't fully understand why. And so, for the first time, Jack found himself falling asleep with the soft, alien warmth of his roommate beside him, sure of where this strange situation might lead, but feeling a surprising sense of peace. The next morning, Jack woke up feeling oddly refreshed. He had expected to feel awkward or uncomfortable, but instead there was a calmness he hadn't anticipated. Zara had kept her distance after they had cuddled, but her presence lingered in the room like a comforting echo. She had been right when she said she just needed someone nearby. The warmth of her body against his hadn't felt wrong, just ... different. As Jack got out of bed, he realized something else. He wasn't as bothered by the idea of cuddling as he thought he would be. In fact, he found himself looking forward to it. He didn't want to admit it, but something about the connection they shared felt natural. The idea that this was simply part of Zara's culture and her biology didn't seem so strange anymore. Over the next few days, their routine remained the same. Zara went about her work, focusing on her studies and assignments, while Jack went to work and spent his free time reading. But every night, they would settle into bed together, the same pattern repeating. Jack would feel a little nervous at first, but as soon as Zara settled into place, he began to relax. Zara, for her part, never asked for anything more than the cuddling itself. She never tried to make the situation more complicated. She wasn't trying to make Jack uncomfortable or cross any boundaries. It was simply something she needed, and she had explained that clearly. That made it easier for Jack to accept. The strangest part was how much he had grown to enjoy their time together. The nights were no longer filled with awkward silence. Instead, there was an unspoken understanding between them. They didn't need to say much. Just being close to each other seemed to be enough. One evening, as Jack was sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through his phone, Zara walked in with a thoughtful look on her face. "Jack," she said, her voice soft, "can we talk?" Jack looked up from his phone, surprised. "Of course, what's up?" Zara hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "I know this is all strange for you, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I wanted to thank you for being so kind and understanding. I know my need for physical contact isn't something most humans are used to." Jack smiled at her, trying to reassure her. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just helping out. Can see how much you need it, and it's not that big of a deal. Besides, it's not like it's hurting me." Zara looked down for a moment, and then back up at him. "Still, I appreciate it. It's not easy for me to ask someone for something like this, and I don't want to overstep." Jack felt a flicker of something guilt. Maybe. He hadn't really thought about it from Zara's perspective before. He'd agreed to cuddle with her because he wanted to help her sleep better. But he hadn't fully understood the trust she was placing in him. She was essentially relying on him to fulfill a basic need. It was a big deal, even if it felt small to him. "I think I understand now," Jack said, leaning back in his chair. "I never thought of it as something more than just helping you sleep, but ... I guess it is more than that for you. I respect that, and honestly, I'm glad I can do it." Zara smiled, her eyes warm. "Thank you, Jack. You really don't know how much this means to me." Jack didn't respond right away. He didn't quite know how to explain what was going on in his own head. It wasn't that he was falling in love with Zara. He didn't think so, at least. It was more like he was starting to feel a deeper connection to her than he had expected. He had started to look forward to their cuddling sessions, not out of duty, but because of how comforting it was. It was strange, but it felt ... right. That night, as they lay in bed, Jack found himself noticing more about Zara than usual. Her scent was soft and calming, like the scent of fresh rain. Her breathing was steady, and as he relaxed next to her, Jack realized how much peace he had come to find in their shared space. It was almost as if her presence was the key to him. Unwinding at the end of a long day, Zara shifted a little closer, her back pressing against his chest. It wasn't anything intimate, it was simply the way her body had naturally found its place beside his. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. Jack hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. But then, as if reading his mind, Zara spoke in a quiet voice. "I can tell you're still a little unsure about all of this. It's okay. I'm not asking for more than this. Just ... being close." Jack nodded slowly, his thoughts a little clearer now. "Yeah, I think I'm starting to get it. I don't feel weird about it anymore." Zara smiled, and they both lay there, the silence between them comforting. It wasn't filled with tension, but rather a mutual understanding. As time went on, Jack started to feel more comfortable in their new dynamic. He didn't know what would happen between him and Zara in the future, but for now, he was okay with this. The simple act of being there for each other, just as roommates, had turned into something unexpectedly meaningful. Jack couldn't help but feel that, despite everything being so new and strange, he was in the middle of something special. And maybe, just maybe, that was all that mattered. A few weeks had passed since Jack had agreed to cuddle with Zara at night, and while the awkwardness had slowly faded, something else had started to creep in. Tension. Jack wasn't sure what it was, but there were moments when he couldn't ignore the way his heart raced when Zara was near. The way her skin felt against his, warm and soft. It seemed to linger in his mind even when they were apart. Every night, as they got into bed together, Jack noticed that the cuddling felt ... different. At first, it had been something he did out of kindness, a simple act to help Zara sleep. But now it felt more personal, more intimate. He hadn't meant for it to happen, but there was a growing connection between them. A connection he wasn't sure how to handle. Zara seemed to sense it too, though she didn't say anything. She would smile at him after they settled into bed, and Jack couldn't help but notice how her eyes lingered on him for a moment longer than usual. Her touch, when she wrapped her arms around him, felt tender in a way that made his pulse quicken. It was like they were both trying to figure out what these new feelings meant. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Zara was particularly quiet. She hadn't said much all day, and Jack couldn't help but notice her distant expression. It was a look he hadn't seen on her before. Mix of confusion and frustration. "Hey, Zara, you okay?" Jack asked, setting down his book. He couldn't ignore it anymore. Something was off. Zara looked up at him, her large eyes reflecting a storm of thoughts. "I don't know," she said softly, her voice filled with hesitation. "I think I'm getting confused." Jack frowned, unsure of what she meant. "Confused? About what?" "I don't know if it's just the cuddling, or if it's more than that," she admitted, her eyes avoiding his. "I'm starting to feel something, Jack, and it's making me uncomfortable. I don't want to make things weird between us." Jack's heart skipped a beat. His breath caught in his throat as he realized that Zara was feeling the same growing tension that he had. But instead of feeling relieved, it made him more nervous. He had no idea how to deal with the feelings he was starting to have for her. "I know what you mean," Jack said, his voice quieter now. "I've been feeling the same way too. But I didn't want to make it ... awkward. It's just cuddling, right? It's not supposed to be anything more." Zara looked at him, her expression unreadable. "But it's not just cuddling anymore. Is it? I mean, I feel something when I'm close to you. I think you do too." Jack shifted uncomfortably on the couch. He didn't want to admit it, but the truth was undeniable. Every night when they lay together, something inside him stirred. It wasn't just the physical closeness. It was the way he felt when she was near, the way she trusted him, the way. Her presence felt calming yet exciting at the same time. "I don't know what this is," Jack said, his voice a little shaky. "But I don't want to mess up our friendship. I don't want things to change." Zara nodded slowly, her fingers playing nervously with the hem of her sleeve. "I don't want to mess things up either, but it's getting harder to ignore how I feel. I've never had this kind of connection with anyone before, and I know." I know you're feeling something too. The silence between them stretched, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Jack didn't know what to say. He didn't want to hurt her, but he also didn't want to end up in a situation that made things even more complicated than they already were. He had never imagined living with an alien, let alone being this close to one. And now he wasn't. Sure, where things were heading? I think we need to talk about this, Jack said finally, his voice firm but kind. We can't keep pretending like nothing's changing. Think we both know it is? Zara sighed, her shoulders slumping. Right. But what do we do now? Do we stop cuddling? Or ... Do we figure out what this is? Jack was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Zara, really looked at her for the first time, as if he were seeing her in a new light. Her soft blue skin, her gentle eyes, and the way. She always seemed to radiate a calm energy. It was hard to deny the connection they shared, and he didn't want to lose that. But he didn't know how to move forward without making things too complicated. I don't know, Jack admitted, his voice low. But I think we should take things slow. Maybe we don't need to stop cuddling. Maybe we just need to understand what it means for both of us. We don't have to rush into anything. We'll figure it out together. Zara smiled at him, and for a moment, the tension between them eased. I'd like that, she said softly. Taking things slow sounds ... good. From that moment, things felt different, but also the same. They continued with their nightly routine, but now there was an understanding between them. They didn't need to rush into anything. They both knew there was something there, something growing, but they weren't ready to label it yet. Instead, they focused on the present, every night as they cuddled. Jack found himself feeling a little more at ease with the situation. He wasn't sure where this connection would lead, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't ready to let go of it. For the first time in a while, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be, and as Zara drifted off to sleep in his arms, Jack couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, this strange, unexpected bond was only the beginning of something even bigger. The days that followed their conversation about feelings were strange for Jack. He and Zara continued with their routine, cuddling each night as they had before, but the atmosphere between them had shifted. There was a quiet understanding now, a space between them that hadn't existed before. It was as if they were both treading carefully, unsure of what would happen if they moved too quickly. Jack found himself lost in thought more often. It wasn't just about the cuddling anymore. It was about the feelings he was starting to have for Zara. Every night, as he held her close, he felt a deeper connection to her, but he didn't know how to express it. He was used to keeping his emotions under control, but this was different. Zara seemed just as conflicted. She was still her usual quiet self, but Jack could tell there was something on her mind. She would glance at him more often, her eyes searching his face for something. But every time their eyes met, she would quickly look away, as if she was trying to hide her thoughts. One evening, as they were getting ready for bed, Jack couldn't take it any longer. The tension was building inside him, and he needed to talk to Zara about it. He had to know where they stood. They were just friends or something more. He wasn't sure if he was ready for more, but he couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine when he wasn't sure anymore. Zara, Jack said, his voice a little shakier than usual. Can we talk about something? Zara stopped what she was doing and turned to face him, her expression calm but curious. Of course, Jack. What's on your mind? Right. Jack hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right words. This wasn't going to be easy. I've been thinking a lot about everything. It's about us and how things have changed between us. And well, I think it's time we talk about it. Zara's eyes softened, and she nodded slowly. I've been thinking about it too, she said quietly. It's hard not to, after what we talked about before. Jack sighed, his mind racing. Yeah, the cuddling started as just something you needed, but now it feels like there's more to it, at least for me. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I know it's not just about being your roommate anymore. It's confusing. Zara took a deep breath, her eyes looking down at her hands. I feel the same way, she said softly. What? When we're together. Like this I feel, something I haven't felt before. I don't know if it's because of the cuddling, or if it's because of you. But it's different, and I don't know how to handle it. Jack felt a knot form in his stomach. It was both a relief and a burden to hear that she was feeling the same way. So what do we do about it? He asked, his voice a little more steady now. Zara bit her lip, clearly thinking it over. I think we need to figure out what this is before it gets out of hand, she said carefully. I don't want to rush into anything, and I don't want to make things awkward between us. But I also don't want to ignore how I'm feeling. I don't want to lose you as a friend. Jack nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. He didn't want to lose their friendship either. Yeah, I don't want things to change either. But I can't keep pretending like it's nothing. It's not just about cuddling anymore. We're ... complicated than that. There was a long pause between them as they both processed the weight of the situation. For a moment, they both just stood there, unsure of what to say next. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't easy either. They both knew they were at a crossroads. Finally, Zara spoke again, her voice soft but firm. Maybe we don't need to rush into anything, she suggested. Maybe we just take it one step at a time. We don't have to figure everything out right now. We can just keep being honest with each other and see where it goes. Jack smiled at her, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. I hadn't expected Zara to have such a calm and thoughtful approach, but it made sense. They didn't need to force anything. They could figure it out together at their own pace. That sounds really good, Jack said, his voice light with hope. I think we can do that. Just take things slow and see where this leads. Zara smiled, her eyes brightening. I'm glad you feel the same. I want to make sure we don't rush into anything that neither of us is ready for. We can just enjoy each other's company and see what happens. Jack nodded, feeling a sense of calm settle over him. They didn't need to have all the answers right now. They could take things slow, enjoy their time together, and see where it led. For the first time in a while, Jack felt like they were on the same page. That night, as they cuddled together in bed, Jack found himself feeling a sense of peace. The tension from earlier had faded, replaced by a quiet understanding. They didn't need to put a label on their connection yet. They didn't need to rush anything. All they needed to do was enjoy being in each other's presence, and that was enough. As Jack drifted off to sleep, he couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of something more. But for now, he was content with just being here, with Zara sharing this moment together, and that in itself was enough. The days that followed their conversation about taking things slow were a little easier for Jack. While the feelings between him and Zara hadn't gone away, there was a new sense of calm in the air. They continued their nightly routine, cuddling in bed as they had before. But now there was a quiet understanding between them. They weren't rushing anything, but neither of them could ignore the fact that they felt something stronger than just friendship. But even though things felt better, Jack couldn't help but notice that the line between friendship and something more was becoming harder to define. Every night as he held Zara close, he felt his heart beat a little faster. The warmth of her body next to his, the steady rhythm of her breathing it, was becoming difficult to keep his emotions in check. Zara, too, seemed to be more aware of their closeness. There were moments when their eyes met in the quiet darkness, and Jack couldn't help but wonder if she felt the same pull he did, but she never said anything more than she had before. She was careful, respectful, and kind, never pushing him for more than what they had agreed upon. One evening, as they were getting ready for bed, Jack decided to bring up something he had been thinking about for a while. He wasn't sure if it was the right time, but he needed to know where they stood. Zara, he said, as they both settled under the covers. I think we need to talk about boundaries. Zara looked over at him, raising an eyebrow. Boundaries? Yeah, Jack replied, his voice soft. I think we're getting pretty close, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for it to go any further yet. I want to make sure we're both on the same page about what we're comfortable with. Zara paused for a moment, her eyes studying him. She seemed to be thinking carefully about her response. I understand, she said finally, her voice calm and steady. I don't want to push you into anything, Jack. I respect your boundaries, and I want you to feel comfortable. Jack sighed with relief, grateful that she understood. I think we need to figure out what we're both okay with, or spending. a lot of time together, and I don't want to do anything that makes either of us feel uncomfortable." Zara nodded. "Does that make sense? I don't want to make things complicated either. We can still enjoy each other's company without crossing any lines." Jack felt a weight lift off his shoulders. They were on the same page, and that made him feel a little more at ease. They didn't have to rush into anything, but they also didn't have to avoid the growing connection between them. It was okay to acknowledge that they were getting closer, but it was also okay to take things one step at a time. That night, as they cuddled together, Jack was more mindful of his actions. He focused on being there for Zara, on making sure she felt comfortable and safe. It was easy to get lost in the softness of her touch, in the warmth of her body next to his, but he knew he needed to maintain the boundaries they had set. This wasn't just about physical closeness, it was about emotional trust and respect. The next few nights followed the same pattern. Jack and Zara would talk about their day, share a few laughs, and then settle into bed together. They would cuddle, but the intimacy of it was different now. It wasn't just a physical need for sleep anymore. It was about sharing a quiet space with someone they trusted. But as much as Jack appreciated the balance they had found, there were still moments when the tension between them became impossible to ignore. He would catch himself staring at Zara, a little longer than he should, or feeling her touch linger on his skin in a way that made his heart race. It was clear that there was something more between them, something neither of them was ready to fully explore. One night, after a particularly long day at work, Jack came home feeling exhausted. He barely had the energy to cook dinner, so Zara offered to make something instead. They sat at the table together, talking about everything and nothing, and Jack realized how much he had come to enjoy her company. She wasn't just his roommate. Anymore, she was his friend, his confidant, someone who made him feel at ease. After dinner, they went to their room, and as usual, Zara crawled into bed beside him. But tonight, Jack felt the need to say something. He wasn't sure how to bring it up, but he couldn't ignore the way his feelings were growing. "Zara," he started, his voice a little shaky. I've been thinking about something. I know we've agreed to take things slow, but I just want you to know that I care about you. More than just a roommate. More than just a friend." Zara looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. She didn't say anything at first. She just gazed at him with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. "I don't know what this is between us," Jack continued, "but I know that I don't want to lose it. I don't want to mess it up, but I also don't want to pretend like it's nothing. I care about you, Zara. I just needed you to know that." Zara was silent for a long time, her fingers playing with the edge of the blanket. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I care about you too, Jack. I think we're both feeling something more than we expected. But I don't want to rush anything. I want to take it slow, just like we said. But I don't want to pretend like I don't care." Jack smiled, feeling a sense of relief. They were on the same page again. They didn't have to rush into anything, but they also didn't have to hide their feelings. They could take themselves time, exploring what this connection was without fear of ruining it. As they settled into bed that night, Jack held Zara close, the tension between them easing. They had crossed a line, but it didn't feel like a mistake. They were figuring it out, step by step. And for now, that was enough. The days after their talk about boundaries were filled with a newfound sense of calm. Jack and Zara continued their nightly routine, but there was a difference now. They were more aware of each other's feelings, more careful not to push too far, yet still enjoying the closeness they had found. Jack had never thought he could share such an intimate connection with someone not just physically, but emotionally too. He hadn't expected Zara to become so important to him. She wasn't just his alien roommate anymore. She was someone who made him feel understood, someone he could be himself around without fear of judgment. But it wasn't easy. There were moments when Jack would catch himself thinking about her in ways he hadn't before. When he'd hold her close at night, he felt something stirring inside of him, something more than just a sense of friendship. It was a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time, a quiet longing that he wasn't sure how to deal with. XRA too seemed to sense the shift. Her usual calm demeanor remained, but Jack noticed the way her eyes would linger on him a little longer when they spoke, how she would smile when their hands brushed. She was careful as always, but there was an underlying warmth in her actions, a sense that she, too, was trying to make sense of what was happening between them. One evening, as they sat on the couch after dinner, Jack found himself looking at her with a new awareness. The way her blue skin glowed under the soft lighting, the way her small alien ears twitched when she was focused, the way her laughter made everything feel easier, it all seemed to draw him in. He couldn't ignore it any longer. "Zara," Jack said, his voice tentative as he reached for her hand. "We've been living together for a while now, and things have definitely changed between us. I think we both feel it." Zara looked at him, her expression thoughtful but calm. "I do feel it, Jack," she said softly. "And I've been thinking about it too. It's not just about cuddling anymore, is it?" Jack shook his head. "It's not. I care about you, Zara, more than I ever expected. I don't know what to do with it." Zara's eyes softened, and she squeezed his hand gently. "I think I've been feeling the same way, but I don't want to rush anything. We agreed to take things slow, and I think that's the right choice. I don't want to lose what we have." Jack smiled, a sense of relief washing over him. He had feared that his feelings might complicate things between them, but now it felt like they were on the same page again. They didn't need to rush into anything. They could take their time, enjoy the bond they had, and see where it led. "I'm glad you feel the same," Jack said, his voice warm with sincerity. "I don't want to lose what we have either. I just want to be close to you like this and see where it takes us." Zara nodded, her small alien ears flicking slightly as she gave him a soft smile. "That's all I want too. We'll figure it out, Jack. Together." The next few days passed in a quiet sort of harmony. They didn't need to talk about their feelings all the time. They just enjoyed each other's company, whether it was sharing meals, sitting in silence, or talking about their day. The pressure they had both felt in the beginning seemed to fade, replaced by a sense of ease. That night, as they cuddled in bed, Jack felt something shift again. It wasn't dramatic, but it was noticeable. He felt a deep sense of peace, like this was exactly where he was supposed to be. He wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he wasn't worried. Zara's presence next to him was comforting, familiar. She didn't feel like just his roommate anymore. She felt like something more, something he wasn't ready to define just yet. But whatever it was, it didn't feel wrong. It felt natural. As Jack drifted off to sleep, he realized that the uncertainty he had felt earlier was gone. He didn't need to know everything right now. He didn't have to label what was happening between them. He didn't have to rush. They could just be. The next morning, Jack woke up to find Zara already awake, sitting by the window, looking out at the view. The early light of the morning cast a soft glow on her face, and for a moment, Jack just watched her. She seemed peaceful, content, and he felt a warmth in his chest at the thought that he was sharing this life with her. "Morning," Jack said, smiling as he stretched. Zara turned to him, her eyes bright with the same warmth he had come to expect. "Good morning." "Jack, sleep well?" "Yeah," he replied, walking over to sit beside her. "Better than I have in a while," Zara smiled, and for a moment they just sat in silence, sharing the quiet of the morning. It wasn't awkward, and it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just the two of them, enjoying the peace they had found with each other as the days went on. They continued to find new ways to navigate their connection. They didn't need to rush into anything, but they were open to whatever might come. Jack had no idea where this would go, but he was okay with that. For now, all he needed was to be present with Zara, and that was enough. They didn't have to figure everything out right away. They didn't need to force it. They could simply enjoy the connection they had, and that was all that mattered. And as they moved forward, Jack knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened between them, he wouldn't regret it. The bond they shared was something special, and for the first time, he felt ready to embrace it fully, without fear.